Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to another episode of Bandwidth and Banter. It may or may not be scuffed tonight. So far, so good. So first off, the reason why I say that is because right now we're streaming off of this, literally this. My internet went down earlier this morning and has not come back up. In fact, I got a text message from them saying, "Oh, it'll be up by 8 p.m. tonight." I'm like, "Yay!" But we did not want to miss another one because we already missed one last week. And although it's kind of ironic and funny too, because Drew and I are going to be off tomorrow night for regular Bandwidth and Banter. We purposely didn't have a guest for the 23rd and decided to take tomorrow night off, but we did not want to miss tonight because it's special in lots of different ways. One, obviously, it's our special edition Bandwidth and Banter, Legacy of Loremasters. And two, it's going to be our 12th episode of Legacy of Loremasters and our last one for a while. Basically, we wanted to kind of wrap the series with 12 episodes for now, but we'll probably restart it again in the future. And finally, the other special reason why it's awesome tonight is because we have none other than our good friend RustyTonixRPGs coming on the show. I'm jumping ahead of myself, though. We'll introduce him in just a second. I think it was Minx Odyssea was our last session, wasn't it? Wasn't she? For regular Bandwidth and Banter a couple of weeks ago.
And
we would
have
have had
last.
Sorry, go ahead, Drew. Yeah.
I was gonna say Havoc was our last Legacy of Loremaster.
Right. Havoc was our last Legacy of Loremasters. We would have had Queen Beatrix on last Friday night. Unfortunately, Druid's internet went down, and that's a lot tougher on her end to recover from because her Wi-Fi, her phone service isn't as good as this apparently. So, but honestly, I didn't.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been utterly impossible because as soon as the Wi-Fi was down, I could barely even access like shorts, or YouTube.
Wow. I'm totally impressed so far that this is working so well. I wouldn't play a game off of it, but this seems to be perfectly fine so far. And with that said, man, it's super awesome to be here again for this another Legacy of Loremasters. And one of my favorite RPG guys on Twitch is on the show tonight. He's also a good friend of ours, a good friend of the channel. He's been on our D&D. He's been on Bandwidth and Banter twice. He's one of our favorite human beings, period. And I can't wait to dive into what shapes and molds RustyTonixRPGs as a DM. So let's have him on the show and do that right now. Hey, Rusty.
Hello. How's it going? Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here. It's good to see you guys again. It's been a while.
Same, buddy. It's been a while. Please, I know you've been on several times before, but if you don't mind, reintroduce yourself for the folks who haven't been in, and tell everybody one thing about your stream you want to highlight.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm RustyTonix. For those who haven't caught me on either my stream or Stormy's before, I do a lot of RPG content and a little bit of retro gaming here and there just to, give it a little variety. Currently, we're running our second on-stream D&D campaign called The Mists of Mount Voros. It has proven to be quite spooky so far, and we've been really enjoying it. As for something special about my stream, geez. I don't know. I don't really think about that all that much. If you're into uniquely Canadian emotes, I do have a Tim Hortons cup and a goose emote, and that's kind of the main appeal. You can raid into your friends with goose emotes. There's nothing better. Nothing brings terror like the goose.
Goose.
That's really all I got. I've kind of been taking a bit of an extended break from the gaming streams and focusing more on the RPG content and building that campaign off stream a little bit more. So we've kind of been slowing things down a little, but I'm looking to ramp things back up into the summertime here once work kind of opens up more. What's a goose? Oh,
Well, I have to say, Rusty, that it shows that you've spent a lot of time on your D&D, because I catch it every Monday. Obviously, I'm watching it while modding in Star Kitty's channel when she streams around the same time. But it's guys, you have to go check it out if you like D&D content. I think Rusty's is some of the most top-notch D&D content you will find, from production values to story to NPCs. Yeah, he's awesome, and he's got a great lineup of players as well, including our very own bestie Ryan G. Wiz. So
I would be nothing without those guys. They are the absolute backbone of everything that I do. I could not do it without them. I love those boys, especially Ryan. Trying to drag him on a camping strip with me so he can do a camping stream one day. He'd be working. That boy be working. So we're gonna make it happen one day. It needs to happen. Need Ryan in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be great.
I love that.
Right?
Me too. All right, Druid.
Hey, babe.
I'll let you take it away, milady.
Rusty, tell us your D&D origin story. When did you get into D&D? How did you get into D&D? Tell us all the deets.
That would be, to put an exact year on it, around 2018, I think, maybe. Sounds about right. I was hanging out with a friend who I went to film school with back in the day, and we kind of just ran into each other at like a mall, and we just kind of sat down, had some lunch, we're chatting. I wanted some new comic books. I went up to the shop. He came with, and we kind of just were chatting about different things we were doing at that time. And I saw the D&D minis on the shelf. I was like, those are cool. What are those? Why are these little gray people here? And he explained to me that they're like miniatures for D&D. And I'm like, okay, I've heard about this thing. Tell me more. I'm interested. And there, right in the middle of the shop, he was like, we kind of just thought up some cool character ideas that I might like, and I bought minis for them, and I painted my first mini before I even wrote my first character, and then I kind of based it off that, and it was just like a simple human ranger, I believe. That was Pathfinder, not even D&D, but that was kind of the stepping stone that led towards D&D, honestly. I played a few Pathfinder games and then just drifted towards 50 from there, but it was just a random impromptu stop at a comic book shop and deciding to paint a little gray person into not a little gray person. It was kind of awesome.
That's cool.
I had a great time with it.
That's awesome.
And honestly, Pathfinder, is technically a spin-off of D&D anyway, so of 3.5 edition. So, you're not you weren't really all that far off anyway. Can you tell us when you kind of delve in more into this before we get on to the next question? When did you decide to try your hand as a DM and to stream it? If there are two separate things or not.
Two, very separate timelines there. I played a few games of Pathfinder with that individual who was the DM, or I guess game master at the time. We played a few sessions, but that kind of fizzled out because it's like just the social dynamic of the group didn't really mesh together all that well. And we kind of just went our separate ways. I thought, and I don't know if it wasn't coming from a place of ego as much of I think I could do that role as a DM, not necessarily better than he did, but in a way that was more conducive to people with different social goals, attitudes, and everything. And it was just a bit more of an open concept. And that was kind of where I started. I always wanted to run my own games so I could help mitigate any different dynamic issues at the table and try to bring people together to focus more on collaborating as a team and like leaving the personal stuff at the door for a few hours to just unplug for a few hours and play D&D. And that's kind of where I decided to try DMing. I never purchased like the DM's guide or anything. I just watched so much YouTube content, like all the Critical Role stuff, all the different like DM instructional videos I could get my hands on. To this day,
we are the dungeon dudes.
Yeah, I don't I don't actually own the Dungeon Master's Guide outside of my D&D Beyond subscription. I don't know how I've managed to go this long without that, but I kind of just made my way through that and memorized enough through just osmosis by being around it and watching it enough that I kind of figured out. I think I have the Pathfinder's Game Master Guide. That I did buy because I'm interested in going back and trying Pathfinder again. Of course, like a month after I bought these, they announced Pathfinder 2. So I was like, great. It was an investment I'm never getting back, but I'm going to probably go back and revisit the system sooner or later. Other than that, it was just, I think I could do a good job of this, and I think people would enjoy playing with me more than I enjoyed playing with that guy. And I just brought that. I just want it to be a fun place for everyone to come and do their thing. And we've had, like, on the D&D stream alone, we've had a lot of different people come in, a very diverse group of individuals, all with different beliefs and ideals, and we've managed to just play D&D together, and it's always been very much about that for me. So that's kind of where I got my start. And then for streaming, it was during COVID, actually. I had started a campaign with my friends, just playing on Zoom originally, and that was how we did that for a bit. Ooh, there's a little laggy. We're good. Okay. We were going through Zoom for a while, and then I moved to Montreal and went through a whole experience there during COVID. That was fun times. But I decided that I had a lot of free time on my hands because I was basically locked in a apartment all day, every day on curfew or whatever, quarantine.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need something to do or I'm going to go crazy. So we just one day, I guess that campaign kind of fizzled out and we just kind of went our own directions because everyone was doing their own thing during COVID and some people had jobs, some didn't. Like there was a while we were playing D&D 3-4 times a week and the group just couldn't really keep up with that. So we kind of just drifted off and I kept kind of the core group together and we decided to stream it one day and just threw it up and saw what happened. It was very stripped down. The overlay was just like a picture of a desert that I cut 4 squares out of, and that was what we had, and I made it work from there. From there it's kind of just spiraled on. We did, I think, 69 sessions in that campaign. Did not plan that. That was a happy coincidence. Yeah. That just ended that way. It was very cool. We did 10 evil one-shots where there were people playing like henchmen of bad guys or of the BBEG during that campaign. And all in all, it was just a really fun experience to get on there and decide to share that with the world. Originally, that world had been designed and written while I was in film school to be a cartoon, kind of like an adult-themed, like Conan the Barbarian meets Metalocalypse type vibes, like just absurdity meets absurdity. And that never really panned out because I didn't really pursue a career in film after I graduated. So I was just like, I have this world written. Let's share it with everybody that we can on Twitch. And it took off pretty fast. It was quite exciting to watch people kind of enjoy the world and stories that we had crafted together. It was really a pleasure. I think Ryan's been with us. Chris has been with us since day one. Like I've been playing D&D with him since the day he started playing in 2019. And he's been there ever since. And then Ryan came in probably a month or two into that campaign at most. And he's been with us ever since too.
Nice.
And good.
Fantastic.
I'm keeping
really quick. I'm sorry. I'm just going to derail really quick.
Yeah.
We chat. It is all because of Rusty that we were blessed with Ryan.
It's true.
Remember that. Remember that. We
That
would not have had Ryan
true.
if it was not for the amazing Rusty.
Rusty is our Kevin Bacon of Ryan.
Just saying.
Not the Kevin Bacon effect. Oh no. We learned about that in film school. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing. I was very happy with Ryan deciding to stream. There was an obvious benefit for me in that Ryan has a reach of people that I could never even hope to. He's this like social octopus that just brings people in from everywhere. His long gangly arms. And it's like that added obviously to our stream. It helped us grow, but it helped not only me find a little more confidence in what I was doing and kind of being who I wanted to be on stream, but I felt very proud seeing Ryan just step into it and more or less surpass me in every way. I'm very proud of him. He's done great. And I think we can expect a lot of really good things from him in the future.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I love him.
And from you.
So. Yes. That too.
I'll be around. I'll be doing my thing. Can't get rid of me that easy.
That's right. And we love you doing your thing. Even when you need to take breaks, it's okay. We totally get that.
We're going to keep the D&D campaign going like indefinitely. That's an every Monday guarantee until the campaign's done. The gaming streams, I can't necessarily promise as much, but like I'll try to throw one up here and there. I got a couple days off next week. We might be doing another Tony Hawk stream. That would be really fun.
Right on, right on. You guys heard it here. If surprise potential stream.
Hold me to it,
Rusty.
Everybody. Hold
Other than this D&D,
also,
which is on Monday nights, I believe it's you guys get started at like 5 Central Time. Is that right? 7 your time?
Yeah, 7 our time, 6 Eastern, and 5 Central.
All right, on to the next question. Delving deep into your DM style, which is what Legacy of Loremasters is all about.
That's the exciting part.
How do you go about crafting a campaign story from scratch?
I very much go with the just start small and build out approach when it comes to just like world building. I have an idea for what I want as like an overarching theme. Like our first campaign was very much focused on like the traditional hero kind of adventuring group where everyone is out to do good and wants to be heroic and save the world. And I very much wrote that as we went along and tried to craft the story to suit that narrative. In this one, we're leaning a lot more towards like everyone's morally gray and everyone has their own motivations and goals and everything. And there's like this element of corporate greed happening that's causing the entire world to go to shit. Pardon my French. And we've really been exploring like the world behind that. So I wanted a theme that kind of loosely reflected the world that we are currently kind of living in. But I also set it in what could very well be described as like borderline colonial era Canada, which is where I grew up in the Canadian Shield in Thunder Bay, surrounded by the Hudson's Bay Company forts and stuff. Like I was a part of my history that I learned very young, both the good and the astounding amount of bad. And I just sought to learn from that, and I wanted to tie that all together. So I started very much from my historical knowledge and experience, and then kind of just looked at the way the world was, and I'm like, this is what we want to do for our campaign. So I started with that, and then I've just been crafting the story there and started them off in this tiny little fur trading lumber fort in the middle of the wilderness, and we've just kind of expanded out the story from there with a very heavy focus on like, how bad corporate greed and that kind of theme can be. So it's been fun.
Very cool.
It writes itself.
Do you think your going to film school and stuff has like helped you when it comes to like crafting your D&D story?
It's to a certain extent. I would say that would be more like the writing side of things, and like the before I was in film school, I was studying history and literature, so there was a big element of that. So storytelling's always been a very in-depth part of who I am. It's just to my core. I love a well thought out and well fleshed out story. I would say going to film school, if anything, helped a lot on the production side of things.
Yeah.
Like making overlays, setting up cameras, setting up my lighting, which like I even on stream, I have a lot of filters on to make it pop a little bit more too. And I would say, the creative writing was what really helped with the world building and all the D&D side stuff. And then the film school was very much like, how do you promote yourself on social media and all this other stuff that I honestly didn't think I'd be using that much after I left film school, and it turned out to be the biggest part of it. Like I didn't end up behind a camera making movies, which is what the goal was. Now I sit in front of a camera and tell stories, and it's interesting reversal for someone who
you're still a director,
being
technically speaking.
More like effectively, yes, no, and that's I think what I like about DMing so much is it really lends itself to that too. I still get that kind of sense of control, not as much in a D&D game where you want things to be open and everyone to go out on their own adventures, but like just the idea of kind of directing where the story will go and these emotional beats. I think like if we ran a tally, I've made Ryan cry on stream from the new campaign like 3 times already. He's got the plague twice. That I didn't plan. Crying, I looked for those moments. I'm like, I'm going to make Ryan emotional. It's going to be beautiful. And I picked those moments very, very carefully. I feel like that's with how wacky the group can get sometimes, like the very chaotic energy that Ryan and Chris bring. And then you have JTB, who's very much like me, just very reined in for the most part. It's fun to pick those moments and really drive the stake in a little bit when it comes to that.
You're gonna have feelings.
You literally, I'm like, you are going to feel things. You might not like it right now, but it's going to look great on camera. That sounds really weird when I say it like that.
Of Mount Velos? Is that right?
Mount Voros.
Mount Volos?
Voros. Voros.
Oh, it's an R. Right. Voros. Thank you. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Voros.
I'm super impressed. It definitely has a very kind of early steampunk feel in a way. Like it's more magic than steam, but it does have some of those kind of elements, and I dig it a lot.
Yeah, it's very like very industrial revolution theme too. In like the bigger cities, that's currently they're dealing with the effects of an industrial revolution and the effects that has on like the working class and the people who are involved in those systems. There's some elements of like different addictions and other issues that people in those societies faced during the time, and we've written thematically. I've been leaning very heavily on both like fur trading era colonial Canada and then industrial revolution London. It's just like stuck them together.
Love that.
Fun. It's just that's where the inspiration. I think I was watching a lot of just very like Victorian looking shows at the time. I was watching a lot of Penny Dreadful and all that, and all those shows really lent themselves to the writing of it altogether.
Love it. How do you go about crafting NPCs?
Good question. That depends on 2 factors. Sometimes I write them myself, where I'm just like, these are the NPCs that I really need for this story to work and make sense. So for them, I usually just start with like, what race or species or class would this individual be? I kind of narrow those out. And then I just write backstories as I go and try to make them connect into the world. Excuse me. As a whole, kind of thinking about like what part will this person play in the overall story. So really I just start with a pen and paper and I just kind of sketch out some ideas of character concepts. I take them over to the Scabbard website we use, which is very similar to like World Anvil. It's just a world building kind of encyclopedia type thing. I just really liked the stripped down format of it, so I stuck with that. And I just gotta start writing. I just throw some ideas on the page, see what sticks. And then on the other hand, we were building this whole campaign live on stream as part of our content coming up to it. We still have some work to do on that side, so we might actually be doing some more world building streams soon. But I had actual redeems where people could like spend channel points and name up NPC or create an NPC or a special landmark, which has proven to be equal parts hilarious and frustrating because you're trying to tell this dark, gritty story about the corruption of man and industrialization and stuff. And then you have a giant rock monument that's shaped like a dick in your game. And like, how do you make that tie in without it seeming ridiculous? You can't. You kind of just gotta lean into that. But I've had some of the best NPCs that we've had in this campaign. Some haven't even shown up yet, have just been random, pretty stupid ideas that have led to these really hilarious characters. And that's what's been so fun about that element of it. I just handed the reins to the chat and I'm like, give me your worst and let's put it in here. We've had some good ones. We've had some stinkers. But they've all kind of make an appearance, even if it's like a one-off, just walks past. Like I described that character walking past the party and then never mention them again. It was nice to kind of tie in my community and my chat into the world. But like there was occasions where someone named a lake and they named it Lake Wet. That's it. That's the name of the lake, is Lake Wet. But I think they called it like Lake Mojado or something in like Spanish or some shit. I can't remember the exact name off the top of my head. But it translates to Lake Wet. And I'm like, I hate you. That's hilarious. We're keeping it.
You got lucky
I have
they
NPCs.
didn't call it Lake Moist.
I would be more okay with that because that word makes people uncomfortable sometimes, and I find that funny.
I don't. It's the concept. Is the concept of the word moist is not the actual word itself. It's just what it invokes.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah.
Moist is different
there's an
than
imagery.
Wet.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, you're not wrong.
I don't like. That's what I don't like.
I get you. I can get behind it.
Sometimes camera pans over to Drew. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I letting.
Of course,
letting
everybody knows. That's why I said it.
Nailed it.
What's your favorite current NPC in this story, and what's your favorite NPC from your last campaign?
Great question.
Oh, last campaign? Oh God, there were so many good ones last campaign that I had so much fun with. There was a half elf named Linax, who was a member of the Resistance in the first campaign. He was very much a hero. He helped the party. He was with them very much from the early days of the campaign and stayed right up until the last 5 sessions or so, until he very heroically gave his life to help the party escape. Actually, very similar to what Lysandros ended up doing in your guys' campaign. There's a clip of it on, I think, our YouTube shorts or TikTok, where like the whole scene of him going out in a ball of fire was pretty epic. It was amazing, and I made Ryan cry again. So goals. No, it was when I see the party and my players react to the loss of an NPC or someone surviving like a potentially life-ending event, like on the other hand, than just killing them. It happens a lot too. I don't kill all my NPCs. That was just the one instead. So, it's just like seeing the players have an emotional reaction to a character I created feels really cool. I really like that. Yeah, so it'd be Linax for the first campaign. There's a couple like honorable mentions. The Master Druhilla, who was part of this like whole family of like rich treasure seekers, very much themed on like Lara Croft and Indiana Jones type vibes. Like that was their whole thing. That was a big part of it. And then for the current campaign, it's really hard because we're still pretty fresh. We've had a few guest characters already too, with people playing them as guests on the stream.
Kieran was one.
Kieran was one. We've also had Nerd Holla. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. No, we've had Kieran twice now. We've had he's come back because every time Ryan gets the plague, they're like, call the cleric. It's a cleric in here. And there's like in tying that in, we had a character who is not religious at all say a prayer and roll a religion check and just put the vibe out there. Like we had a character finding religion to try to help Ryan's character not die. Currently, though, it is going to have to be Ashlyn, who was someone created by me that was just kind of meant to be a one-off character that they met on the road, and they all got ambushed by goblins. Her husband passed away in the conflict, unfortunately, and the group, especially Ryan, was like, "You're ours now. You're coming with us. It'll be okay." And they like immediately bonded with this character who was like leaving town, start a family. She's gonna have a baby. That was like written into her entire character. She is currently pregnant. So they've like adopted this woman and her soon to be born child and just completely absorbed her into the group. She's like a carpenter, so she helped them fix up their home and stuff. Like she became a very essential part of their group. She is the reason the home is in the condition it is in. A woman straight up like taught them basic carpentry and stuff. And then an honorable mention there would be Olga, who was intended to just be a one-off character of some really strong muscle-bound logging woman. She was one of 4 woodworkers, logging workers, who were tasked with carrying Ryan's character, Veit Karl's body, through the forest back to the town so he could get a doctor, because he became infected with yet another plague that caused him to enter a comatose state. I didn't want to lose Ryan for a game or two. Like we could have had him sit out while his character was in a coma. That doesn't work for me. That will never work for me. Ryan must be on the stream at all times. So I offered him, I'm like, do you want to play any of these characters? He's like, give me Olga. I'm like, bet. you're Olga now. So we made Ryan into Olga. We went from Vite Carl, who was just this really buff barbarian druid, to Olga, a really buff barbarian, basically, who still did druid stuff, because Ryan will always be a druid and do nature shit when you give him the chance. That is a character trait. And she became very much, and it might be the way Ryan played her, but that is, she's still alive. She is now separate from Ryan. She's going to go off and do her thing. She's currently at the house. There's many plans in place for her. I don't know if it was Ryan, the way he played her and the interaction she had with her friend Bob. So it was Olga, Sarka, Gunther, and Bob were the 4 woodworkers. I couldn't think of a name that fit the scheme for Bob, so he's just Bob. And
builder.
That was, yeah, there you go. Thank you. I didn't even, boom. Amazing. But yeah, no, and in like one session, the interactions between Bob and Olga became so lighthearted and cheerful and happy, and I was like, it's written that already that these people will likely die on this trip, because they're traveling through these forests that is currently basically infested with mists that brings all kinds of spooky monsters out. And I literally wrote that plot point. I'm like, some of these characters will die. It's up to the dice. All of them died but Olga. So Ryan had to roleplay this entire process of losing people his character's been working with and growing with his whole life. And he nailed it in like a session with Olga and made me cry. Ryan got me that time. I was like, damn, I got a single tear moment coming. And I love what he did with Olga. I love how Olga's story is continuing on and becoming an integral part of the story. It seems like they're gonna absorb her into the company the same way they did Ashlyn. So the boys just, they really like, absorbing these very strong, independent, powerful women who could overpower them any day. I'm thinking there's a problem.
I don't see a problem.
Yeah,
Ryan has a type, big muscular.
This is a perfect segue into the next question, which is, Rusty, what's your style for crafting entertaining encounters?
Oh, that's tough. I've never been like big on like puzzle encounters and stuff like that. My players don't like them. I don't like writing them, but I try to avoid those. That's a main one, because I find them I stagnate when I'm running them. I'm not as entertaining, I feel. I'm probably in my own head about that a little bit, but I prefer like a nice combat-based encounter or some kind of dialogue where they're in a position where they have to make a choice that will affect the outcome of the encounter. I think that's a big part of it, is having like stakes on either side that they have to pick the lesser of two evils or like the best possible route with the information they have. And I find that's a really interesting part or place to start when crafting encounters. I know if they're traveling through like a dark, spooky forest, I can plan out some stuff ahead of time too. That's kind of thematically with the elements of where they are, whether it's monsters, woodland creatures, or something. And I honestly just kind of look at the setting they're in, look at some creatures that might be around or some NPCs that might be in the area, and I think about how can I maneuver the party a little bit into a position where they're having to choose. I think choice is a big part of an encounter, and giving stakes to whatever side of the choices they have to make. So like focusing on stakes for the player and like where their decisions will lead them consequently is kind of the main appeal to me. I really like exploring consequences of their actions quite a bit too. So but yeah, no, just like knowing your setting and when it's appropriate to throw a random encounter in, which are quite fun too, or when you need to plan ahead a little bit more. I'm a big planner. I have encounters planned that may never show up, may never happen. They may never even go to that place, but they're there and they're ready. And then I have random encounter tables for just like travel days and stuff like that. So I look for very integral moments to the story too, like when they're going to a new town to try and solve a problem there. Maybe there's a guard post trying to stop them from entering the town and they have to either negotiate their way past. But I just try to match the encounter with the elements of the story I'm trying to achieve, and I find the interest really just writes itself on that one.
Right on.
Love
right
it.
On. Hmm. Do you ever
Also, will I make
have
Brian
you
cry or
ever
not? That's a
crafted
big question I ask
an
myself.
encounter that you specifically either you really liked it or it was a kind of an important plot encounter and you had to rearrange where it is on the fly in in the campaign because they were kind of dancing around it?
Sometimes that has happened a number of times. Like it happens all the time. Anyone who's DM'd knows for a fact that sometimes your players will just not go towards the thing that you want them to go towards. So you're like, okay, cool. This was in a desert. Guess what? It's in a forest now. We'll make it work. And I do sometimes throw those encounters their way if there's like an important, if it's kind of ties into like the pacing of the games. If I feel things have begun to stagnate a little and they're kind of meandering and looking for something to do, I will move an encounter that I had somewhere else just to entertain the players too. You can kind of sense when the players are like, or at least with my guys, with my players, I can kind of at this point after 4 years of playing together almost, kind of pick up where they're going and when they're starting to flounder a little bit on what they're supposed to do, and I use those opportunities to kind of nudge them in the right direction as needed. And that is when I would like move an encounter over that's storyly like thematically important. Like they were
Yeah.
supposed to discover this desert temple, they never ended up going that way, they never heard about it. It's a jungle temple now. Easily done. Like it's sometimes it is as simple as just boop, popping it down right there. I try to avoid it, but I do it sometimes when necessary.
Yeah,
that's the magic of D&D and being an adaptable DM, right? You can basically make some of your stuff modular.
Oh yeah, something like most of my game can be shifted around and interchanged as needed. I'm finding that even easier with this campaign we're doing, whereas last one they were like popped into the desert after the kind of initial intro to the campaign, which happened off stream. They basically were in a desert having to survive. So they were on the move constantly, going from settlement to settlement, ruin to ruin, town to town. Always. I had to improvise so much of that campaign just on the fly and then go back and write stuff after, that I kind of started getting not annoyed with the players. That's not the word I would use, but like frustrated with myself a little that I set them up in such a way that they would have to wander the entire section of the continent. I was like, that maybe was a not a great plan on my part. They were they were in a desert. They were literally playing in a sandbox, to make a cheesy joke there. But that campaign taught me, I'm like, okay, I don't have to give them absolute freedom all the time.
Right.
And I can kind of rein it in where needed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was, now sometimes the players just be doing what the players do.
For sure.
Yep.
I have to say, watching your D&D campaigns, and I watched your previous one too, like not all of it, but I think a good, like the last half of it. And like I can definitely see your evolution as a DM into this new one is just like you must have a bonus to your experience points as a DM because you're leveling up a lot faster than the average DM would. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think
you guys make me feel very.
He's one of my favorite DMs on Twitch.
Right now. I appreciate that very much. There's always room to grow, and I always try to improve a little bit every time. I can't improve every stream, but I can always grow into the future, and that's kind of what I've focused on doing. This campaign's made a lot easier because, like I said, I've reined them in. They have a home base. They have a place where they're living. They have an actual like home. They have no reason to wander the entire continent right now. So for the first few levels, I could focus on like fleshing out this area a lot more than I was able to in the last campaign, which lends itself well to like the political intrigue and horror elements of the story to a certain extent. They are trapped because anywhere they go on this continent, there's something else waiting to kill them, for lack of a better term. Like there is plague, disease, banditry, obviously, different like the mists themselves, which are Very much for me, just like a way to push the story forward. A lot of the time, I'm like, mists, let's go, and it works really well for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, reining them in and giving them a house and somewhere to operate out of has saved me immense amount of time crafting my encounters, because I can just plan it for the area. There's only so far they can travel in.
Yeah. How do you so I'm assuming that's one of the things that helps you with handling pacing, but how do you handle pacing your story, and how does that tie in with like handling it for streaming and stuff? Do you have any tips or tricks or
Yeah,
lessons
see,
learned?
they're like a home D&D game and a stream D&D game are two very different things, and they play out in a completely different way a lot of the time. Where like my goal is to entertain the players. I want my players first and foremost to be enjoying myself. I also have to take into my account that we have people watching who want to hear and compelling narrative. So I very much try to focus on pacing a lot more in the stream games than I do off stream. Like off stream, like I don't care. You can meander, do whatever you want. I am happy. For on stream, for my pacing, I believe I know railroads are to be avoided and bad, but I also worked on the railroads, and it's like there are 7 different tracks to get to one destination a lot of the time. And I very much believe in that approach where it's like, yes, the story is moving forward always at all times, sometimes on a track. The players can hop on a different train and do their own thing and tell their own story. But I very much, and the players kind of understand this, that once they start like a specific story arc or quest or something, that they're pretty much on that till the end. It's a bit of a social contract that we've like never really discussed. It's just very naturally occurred, that once the player, they understand once something gets started for the sake of the narrative, sometimes it will just continue. But I believe in having many tracks to get to one destination, and that's kind of the focus. Whereas my home games, like the games I play with the kids I work with, are just completely open sandbox, do whatever suits your fancy.
Yeah.
But for the stream pacing, I definitely feel like a bit more of a guided hand is needed sometimes as a DM. A lot of players don't like that. A lot of DMs will argue that point, but yeah, I've just found that's the best way to at least handle, especially with my players. They get a little unhinged. They get a little crazy, and Ryan is like a tornado of beautiful orange-haired energy. He just takes you wherever he needs to, and I kind of just edge them back onto the track when I need to, but for the most part, it's kind of just finding that balance between letting them do what they want and telling the story that we agreed to build together when we started the campaign, basically. Pacing is really important, though. I don't want the chat to ever be bored, which is why I tend to throw a lot of combat in. I also know my players really like combat. That is that thing they all enjoy all the time. So I'm like, you know what? We've gone 2 sessions where we've done really heavy RP. Let's just throw some goblins at them. Like, let's have some fun. Let the players unwind a little bit. And that helps the pacing too. And you can like balance these heavy RP sessions with these really impromptu battles that they maybe weren't expecting. Like they had the entire traveling through the forest with Olga and Bob and the other individuals like they got attacked. The mists rolled in right in the morning as they were finishing their long rest. I gave them a long rest. I'm merciful. I was not going to put them against all the stuff I had planned without that. But they woke up in a panic to the mists rolling in, which was, again, a plot element because now they have no camping gear. They have no way to survive in the wilderness. They left their camp and they ran. So now they have to deal with that situation or spend money on that, which means they can't spend money on new gear. And I kind of push them that way because I want them to be struggling. That was the kind of point of the campaign. And then all those people died. It was very emotional. And then I'm like, I hate to do this to them, but the way they chose to run, they ran through, oh God, what was it? It's some fake creature. It leaves behind these little pods. And then when someone dies on them, they become like a tree zombie kind of. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. I use them, but that's what happened to Bob and all their friends is they died in this one very specific spot and came back the next day. And that was very much me like, we can do more. We can cause more chaos here. And I was threw another encounter at them that way. But
I can hurt your feelings more.
Literally that. And when you say it like that, it sounds real bad. It sounds kind of
No.
mean.
No.
But yes, I'm gonna turn the knife a little bit.
Listen, I want to have a wholesome character that everybody loves that dies tragically and breaks
Right?
everybody's hearts.
Yeah, or it goes
So
out
bad.
saving the day, and it happens. Character deaths
Exactly.
happen too. They
I
just have to
want
have
that.
meaning.
Yeah,
Like don't kill
obviously.
your NPCs and characters without a really good reason. But if you can find that good reason, murder them with impunity.
Yeah. I just, you know, so it's just one of the, I get it. I'm
Mhm.
not judging.
Yeah, no, I know
want
how
it to
my
be for plot.
players. I know how my players tick emotionally at this point, and I lean into that. But they also know what gets me. Ryan is as much able to make me weep like a baby as I am to him, and that I think is the balance that I love so much. Because Ryan has theater experience, I have theater and acting experience from film school as well. So we always riff off each other real good, and Chris and JT have both really stepped into the role play as well. Especially, I was very proud of Chris, having never played D&D before. A month into playing, decided to join us on stream. Same as Kieran, who played one game of D&D off stream and then immediately joined us on stream at level 15. Like for our finale, it was this huge epic moment. It was pretty amazing. I was pretty happy about
It was epic too.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
it. That was a pretty fun finale. Lung infection and all. Good times.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
times. My
Yeah,
zombie
I was
voices were
impressed that
on
you made it
point.
through that as sick as you were.
I was playing an undead guy the whole time, so it worked that my breath was super raspy the entire time. I'm like, I'm just talking. This is my voice right now. Like,
This is everything.
this is all I got. That's it. Literally, Dad. Like, it was great. I had a great time. Yeah, no, pacing wise, I believe in a very guided, open railroad approach, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Well, I think
Guided railroad
what you
system.
have figured out, that not all DMs can do figure out, even after playing for a long time, is that as long as you're crafting engaging experiences, your players will chase those experiences, right?
Mhm.
And so
Always, every time.
it's not technically railroading. You're just leading them along. You just craft it in such a way that it gives them the illusion that they're doing what they want to be doing, because they are doing what they want to be doing. So
Yep, every time. And like if I am gonna put them on a specific track, that track is a result of choices they have made. Like you have done things that have caused events that are outside of your control. You're on the ride. Have fun. Is very much the way I go for it. Or they can completely ignore that. Like they do have the option to like walk away and do whatever they're gonna do, but they understand that they've already made choices that will have consequences. They can either be involved in them and shape how they will turn out, or they can go do something else and wash their hands of the events that are coming. And then they have to deal with that in the moment too. And it lends itself very well to telling an interesting kind of dynamic story.
Did you get a lot of like player experience before you DM'd?
2 games.
Like full
play-
on, like
I played
the actual.
those 2
so
Pathfinder
2
games I played with
sessions,
that other
you're
DM.
saying?
2 sessions. Yeah, that's it. And then I just
He and I have that in common. We're both effectively self-taught DMs who, I mean, I started and I didn't have a DM to play, so I had to teach myself to DM and then get some friends to play. And but your 2 sessions is practically the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Once I figured out like the basics, a lot of it comes down to like common sense when it comes to like what checks a player needs to do for a certain thing. And I always find a way to justify it if I'm like, they want to do a history check that's like more based on, I don't know, like I interchange what abilities can be for what. So say there's like something that's int based, but could also work as a wisdom based check. A good example would be we have intimidation rules where if you are being physically imposing, you can use your strength as your modifier for your intimidation. Whereas if you're just being charismatically imposing, then you use your charisma. But like if you take someone the size of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, take away all his charisma and have him intimidate me, I will be afraid because that is a big boy, and I'm not a big boy. So like that we I mean I am, but like, I'm big in other ways. I'm just chunky. There's a difference. I'm not yoked out of my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like logically just making conclusions based on that was an easy step forward as a DM. Like there are multiple ways to do the same thing, I guess would be the best way to put it. Oh God.
I think that's actually a brilliant house rule. I like what you've done with that, because I've always had a problem for the longest time with I mean it does sort of make sense that to be intimidating you would have to have some charisma, but also not, right? Because you imagine some of the most intimidating people are not likable people at all, right? They couldn't convince anybody of anything. They're just big, mean bullies, right? And that's what you're doing when you're intimidating somebody. You're bullying them, and not in a fun, friend way, but in a way where you're really trying to, and somebody who's big, physically imposing could be more intimidating than somebody who's got lots of riz.
Yeah. So Thera for intimidation has a +7. But if I was able to use like strength or my athletics for just the imposing body, it would be a +13.
Very intimidating. It also helps if they're like
big, strong
physically
woman.
they're like, I want to intimidate this person by physically grabbing them by the collar and pulling them in. I'm like, that is an act of strength. You are showing your superior strength, not charisma over somebody. So that's an easy homebrew rule. We also like trying to think of any more off the top of my head, but situationally, if there's like someone's like, can I make a check with this using this stat instead for this reason? I'm like, that 100% do it. I am totally cool with that. I think that comes from not having read the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to make up house rules because some stuff that exists in raw doesn't quite make sense.
Yep. Sometimes things don't translate completely well. We have a few homebrew rules that we use at the table. Like our death saves are cumulative for the day. They don't reset after you've been brought back to consciousness. Like you are still physically have taken that damage and that toll on your body throughout the day. Just little changes like that. That's kind of
I like that. That's good. Yeah.
What other homebrew rules do you have?
I think those are like the two major ones. We also got rid of like damage types on weapons to a certain extent. Like I don't believe was longsword's a slashing weapon, I think off the top of my head. But you can also stab with one just as effectively. So if you describe your attack to me and what it is you want to do and be like, I want to stab this person instead of slashing them, I'd be like, cool, you will roll piercing damage instead. It's that easy. So if like we base our damage types based on what the player wants to achieve as that damage. Like if you're non-lethally trying to hit someone with a longsword, you're not going to hit them with the blade. You're going to hit them with the hilt and try and knock them out. That's bludgeoning damage. So that logically makes sense to me that way. We've had that rule since like day one, and it's always bothered me that like spears are not considered finesse weapons unless you're a monk, kind of thing. Like that is also one that has bothered me, because like you are trying to dexterously stab at a specific point. The whole point of a spear is to be dexterous and strong enough to pierce armor. So there's a mix there too, right? Like I will allow weapons to be considered finesse based on how I studied them historically. I know that kind of affects balancing to a certain point, especially like with skeletons and stuff like that, where it's like they're resistant to piercing damage or whatever, but take extra damage or vulnerable to bludgeoning. Someone's like, can I turn my spear around and bash it with the blunt end? I'm not going to say no. Like there's not really any logical reason to do that. So other than that, I think that's about it for homebrew rules. A lot of them we just come up with on the spot, like in the moment rulings. I don't think I can think of any more off the top of my head other than that. The death saves one was a big one, and that was one like I talked to the players first, got their opinion on it before we ever instigated that rule. And in particular for this campaign, where it's supposed to be very gritty, difficult, and like almost punishing to the players in a lot of ways, we felt it was just more prudent to have death saves carry that much more extra weight. Yeah, because like if you get stabbed to the point you're in a state of unconsciousness, like that is a toll your body has taken. So we just
Yeah,
make do like that.
that's cool. Have you ever played any other systems, or just D&D?
We did Pathfinder when I started. I've not revisited it since. No, I'd played one little like short, I guess a 3-shot as a Pathfinder character.
Mhm.
We played Vampire the Masquerade when we started the stream as well. We kind of I wasn't DMing every week at that point because I wasn't just ready to commit to every week DM streaming. So I got to play in the off weeks as a vampire in Vampire the Masquerade. One of our players at the time, Mike, got to run the game. So there was that on some of the World of Darkness stuff. And then Insomnia had me on his stream playing the Fallout tabletop, which I really enjoyed. I'm not going to pick, I can't really pick a favorite because they all offer something. But getting to play a super mutant who beat a guy to death with his own friend's severed arm was pretty cool. I was just I was like a super mutant who was a kid when he was turned. I was wearing a white shirt with a rainbow unicorn on it, smashing people with limbs. It was great.
Yeah.
Super fun tabletop. I highly recommend it. And then I really want to try Starfinder. That's like top of my list. I want to do some kind of sci-fi system one day.
The Aliens was fun.
Aliens also seems cool. I'm not super familiar with the world. I've only just I watched the first Alien movie probably 4 years ago for the first time. That was my introduction to the franchise, and I love it now, but I don't have that in-depth understanding that would make for an interesting game. I would play in one in a heartbeat. Because I think not knowing, it adds to the terror of that game.
Yeah, because I knew nothing. I've only seen snippets of the Aliens versus Predator stuff. And it was very fun. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
I feel like that would be a good one, honestly.
Yeah.
We've that's it for systems for me.
We've chatted a little bit in the future as a fun little short thing. I was thinking about doing Druid and I guest starred on Oman Garris's channel for the Alien TTRPG for a few sessions.
I remember. That was a good.
And it was so much fun, and it inspired the idea. And I would have to have Old Man Garris on there, and I'd have to have Druid on there, and then invite some other folks. But I was thinking it'd be neat to do a mini campaign session, several sessions, however long it takes, but not a long one. Of The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I think that would be pretty epic.
That's a good one. I would love to check that out. That would be great.
Well, I will definitely log your name in my brain and hit you up if I make that happen in the future.
That would be so cool. I would love that. I love The Thing.
The best part about that the way that could work is the players, even if their character dies, could potentially continue role playing in the series because they have become the thing. I would totally want Druid to actually watch that movie beforehand, just so that she could understand what's. Then again, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe the whole not knowing could be part of it. But yeah.
That's half the fun of Alien and The Thing is not understanding what's happening. And I think as a player, not really understanding the world and then playing a game in it, you can understand the rules without understanding the lore. And then you get to discover that lore in character. That sounds like a truly harrowing, terrifying experience if you played it outright, especially with the DM or with the equivalent for whatever they would be called in the Alien game. Who can lean into that sense of mystery and confusion and everything. That would be so cool. That one might be on my list too. If I were to run a game of my own, I'd like to do one in the Fallout tabletop though.
Ooh.
Been a big fan of Fallout for
years.
Dude,
if you ever do that, you please,
I know who to call.
Hit me up. I'll at the very least as a one-shot guest star or something. But yeah, I love the Fallout universe, and I really I've actually picked up the TTRPG and looked at the books and almost grabbed them for myself because man, it looks like a lot of fun. Because I played the original TTRPG that inspired indirectly Fallout. So I way back in the day, in the early 80s, shortly after Dungeons and Dragons came out in the late 70s, a TTRPG came out called Gamma World. And Gamma World inspired Wasteland. And Wasteland inspired Fallout.
I love Wasteland so much.
Yeah.
Wasteland 3 was one of my favorite stream games when we played it on stream. The sense of humor in it is amazing. The fact you get to fight a limousine with the AI personality of Ronald Reagan in it is peak comedy. Does not get better than that. I had a hat made out of rainbow dildos at one point. That game's wild. Insane. I could not believe it.
That is beautiful.
It was great.
It's beautiful.
I loved that hat. I wore that until the end game, even though it was an inferior piece of gear. I'm like, nah, I'm riding this out until I can't.
This is mine now forever.
Literally.
All right, B-Boggin asks, I want to know if Rusty can tell us what exactly happens if you put a bag of holding in a bag of holding, no Googling, LOL.
You get a portal to the astral plane, if my memory is correct. I think it also sucks everything within, is it 10 feet? I don't know the
10
exact...
or 15 feet?
Yeah, something like that. All I know is you get the big suck into the astral plane, and that's not fun for anybody except the dungeon master. I think I'm right on that one. Very close. So close. Oh.
Yeah,
The only reason...
But, you know, close enough that I would give him the yes, he got it right.
Where do you not go to the astral plane? Do you go somewhere else?
No, that is correct.
But where exactly in the astral plane?
In the range, I think the radius is bigger than 10 feet, but I'm not 100% sure. It also differs from 3.5 to 5e. So, you know.
I do know that you get a portal to somewhere, or someone gets sucked in. Yeah. 15 or 30 sounds right. I do not know where exactly in the astral plane. In the case of my games, if my player did it, it would be wherever in the astral plane I decide I want them to end up at the time.
Into the astral sea. Interesting.
Astral sea. There you go.
Yeah, the only reason why I know is because my husband is obsessed with the idea of trying to catapult a bag into a bag of holding into a bag of holding to use it as a weapon of mass destruction. And the amount of times he has asked me, do you think this would work? And I'm just like, no. You could try. I don't know. It's crazy.
I love that. One day I hope he gets his wish. Honestly, every player wants to try it at least once. Like, I'm curious.
Listen, that motherfucker.
Everyone will
give him an inch. If you give him an inch, he'll take a mile, and he will do it.
Yeah. That's every.
So, Pelican asks Rusty. Lost the question. There it is. What's Rusty's favorite memory of all the D&D games he's done?
Oh. There's a bit of a two-tiered answer. For moments I got to play in, there are not a lot. I will say it's a pretty easy choice. It's a tie between beating people to death with their own arm in Fallout, but that's not D&D, so it doesn't really answer your question. It's going to be playing Lysandros with Stormy and having that big, epic, heroic sacrifice at the end that, like, I wanted. Like, they were like, we can escape. I'm like, nah, go. I got this. I knew it was a character I was only going to play once, and I wanted to have the most dramatic impact on both the story and the players. I feel like his name's
still carved in Thera's shield, so
I love
you've done it.
That was such a fun session too. So I will say it's not a favorite moment. It's that whole goddamn session. Great time. I also had a great time playing with Nerd. I got to play with Ryan in that one, so there's no way to pick a favorite moment in that. I got to play Ryan's husband, and that was pretty hilarious. But I was like a begrudging husband who got tricked into it because Ryan was like a Fey Lord or something. Like, he was literally a Fey dude. And I signed a contract with him, and the fine print was that it was a marriage contract, and I didn't read the fine print, and that was the whole story we went over. So for D&D, it would be playing Ryan's husband and sacrificing my life as Lysandros to save a complete stranger and a bunch of wonderful individuals I got to spend that session with.
It was very fun. It was very fun. You got to hear the behind the scenes bitching that day too, which I still giggle about.
Yep.
I remember Stormy's look on his face, and I'm just like, when I'm like, complaining, and he's just like,
I was listening the whole time. I was there.
Yeah, so
No, out of
for folks
respect, I put the
who don't know
headphones
what she's
down
talking about, I
after.
won't say what she was complaining about, but
I
I
was
will.
complaining about being on my period.
Okay, she doesn't mind sharing, apparently.
I was raised by women. Like, I understand that. I absolutely.
I
Didn't
just
bother me at all.
find it hilarious though that like what she's talking
No
about
idea
is
I'm
that at the
sitting.
time, Rusty and I had crafted this cool little trick where, because obviously we use Discord for this,
yeah.
and so he had used his a special account for his not his regular account for Discord, and we named it
The
in such a
account I
way.
use.
Yeah, my fib to them was, "Oh, I'm going to try out this new tool that I found on Discord for for doing something neato."
The tool was me.
And the trick was him. Yes, it was him. But
I did share
the-
immediately on stream too.
The look on their
We talked
faces
about it
was
on-
epic, and they shared with me after that both Druid and Fate at first thought you were pre-recorded, like you were
Yeah.
recorded,
Oh, I
not
came in.
interactive. Yeah.
Like the thing I liked about that is like I left very open to the DM, like what the background story. I was like, I have this kind of gladiator-esque character I've always wanted to play. He's a fighter, gladiator, simple. Does this work? You're like, yeah, perfect. And I'm like, okay, you write however he fits into your world and give it to me. Stormy gave me like a little snippet that I could say as an introduction. It was epic. I did a little editing to kind of make it fit with the way I speak and the flow of my voice and just overall timbre, and had this really cool, epic introduction. And then when the party realized, I remember the look on Druid's face when you guys realized I wasn't a video and I was there to play D&D with you. It was like all of you were so happy to have me there, and I felt so accepted, and I felt immediately part of the group. And then we went out there and we killed some shit, and it was great.
It was so
awesome.
good.
I
It
love
was
that
so
character.
good. It was
You
so
guys know
good.
I like every time I've been on Bandwidth and Banter, you're like, "What's your favorite class?" I'm like, "Fighter." Always, it will always be the pinnacle top of my favorite classes. I just love it.
Oh.
Completely
Listen,
blank slate.
My
you're-
fighter paladin multi-classes peak.
They
I
hit pretty
have to
hard,
say.
don't they? Yeah.
I did 68 points of damage in one attack.
Woo. Battle Master, Pelican. Always the Battle Master.
So,
Arcane Archer for extra points if I feel
Russ,
like
you
being a
have to
little
share
saucy
that,
archer boy.
your moment has been immortalized in not one but two clips that show up on my channel.
Love
So,
that.
and
Me
for a
being
while there,
immortalized
it's
in
funny.
anything is cool.
Anytime
pretty
I'd go
awesome.
into Bubba's channel, like if I rated him or something, and he'd shout me out. For some reason, the way I don't think it was Twitch. I think it's some setting in his stream, but it was stuck on only that clip, like 6 times in a row. It was so funny.
It's the program that he uses. Yeah, it
I love
glitches
that.
so much to get it set
Ah,
up with a Firebot. But yeah, amazing.
yes. So
It was very good.
I'm gonna say this one. I know that your turn to do a question, but this one's I think sort of a question, sort of for all of us to chat about, from Captain Jim
Ooh.
Rayner. So I'm going to jump ahead of you there, Druid. Just because it's kind of complicated here.
I was playing Starfield on the shout out. I love Starfield. I might have been
Yeah,
one of the few
so
people
Captain
who
Jim
did.
Rayner asks, so in sports, you have what are considered unwritten rules. Like, for instance, if you have such a sizable lead, you don't hit home runs off non-pitchers or slam dunk in the closing seconds of a basketball game with a huge lead. Does D&D have anything considered an unwritten rule that players are advised to follow by when playing any kind of campaign?
I think there's a couple.
Yeah.
I want to hear
Don't
your
steal from
thoughts
your
first,
party.
Rusty. As the newest DM.
Yeah, mine would be never steal. Yeah, I'm a little baby. Never steal from the party unless it's for the sake of comedy. Like, I played a Kender and a Strahd game who would just steal trinkets off the party and then put them back in a different place than they had left them, literally just to mess with people because I thought it was hilarious. That was an entire character trait that I made as that character. But like I've never even had it happen at a table where people are like pickpocketing other members of the party and stuff. That's never really occurred for me. Another one would be, I'd say, don't engage in PvP with your fellow party members unless it is like consensual on both sides and everyone wants to. Like we've had moments where Ryan straight up attacked our one of our former players, Peter, who was playing. We had Gregory was Ryan's character, the wizard druid, and Mantuka, the fucking barbarian minotaur. The minotaur kicked Ryan's pet goat off a cliff. It died. Tried to save it, couldn't do it. It happened. Ryan's response was to fight Peter in character, but out of character, he's like, "This is what I want to do. Is that okay with you?" And Peter was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then they had this really cool PvP bout off. And it's like, don't fight each other unless you're like discussed it together and you are like doing it for the sake of a plot device or a reaction to something that, you know, warrants fighting each other. The rule I put on that, and this is not unwritten, is you will never be allowed to kill another member of the party at the table, period. Like it will always end in unconsciousness no matter how you want it to end. We do not kill each other. And I think that is pretty much an unwritten rule either. Like don't kill your fellow party members or fight them unless it's something you actually discussed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that is a pretty valid one. I've seen campaigns, not campaigns that I DM'd, but campaigns that I played in derailed because, I mean, it's challenge. That's one of the reasons why a lot of DMs won't necessarily DM an all evil party, because it's hard for all evil people to get along with each other, especially if you're role playing them to their you know their personality and their
Did he
moral
cut out for you?
their morals and their ethics.
You literally
If they're-
you completely cut out.
I
halfway
did.
through
It looks
that
good
for
on
me.
stream is the funny thing.
I know.
Discord that's struggling.
I know.
I cut out.
1 second story. We'll get you.
Uh-oh. Did the stream drop?
Oh, he didn't even realize we've been talking. He doesn't even realize.
Uh-oh.
Stream heard him. That's all that matters.
Am I back yet?
There you go.
I'm back?
There's an audio visual delay for us in Discord.
Okay.
I think it's okay on stream.
But I think it's okay on stream.
Okay. All right. What was the last thing that I said? I don't even remember. Oh, I see. The stream is chugging.
Like the start of your last sentence is where you disappeared on us. I mean, the phone has held up pretty good this far. I have to give credit where it's due.
Very good. Very good.
I think it's starting to get hot. I think that's probably the issue. We probably need to wrap it up
Yeah,
now.
shockingly.
On the phone.
Um,
I probably sucked the battery right out of it.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's okay. We're chilling.
Oh, now it's starting to buffer. I think he was chatting. We didn't hear him. So I think we've run out of
Phone overheating.
yeah.
Ooh. And we got all the important parts in. Starting to get really hot in here, guys. We've hit the limit of the phone bandwidth.
check the Discord text. Druid, can you do the outro?
Oh,
So
like the entirety of the outro?
yeah, real quick, we'll try and do the wrap up because I just want to say it looks like the phone is finally giving out. It's getting hot. I'm blowing on it. I don't know if it's making a difference, but honestly, we were getting really close anyway. Rusty, you're amazing and wonderful. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I adore you, and I'm so glad that Twitch brought us together, and I can't wait to see what sort of cool things you do in the future and that we can do together. And it's an honor to have you. And I'm going to let you wrap up anything you want to say, Rusty, and then we'll let Druid outro the show.
Sounds good. It's been an absolute pleasure, again, being here. You guys keep having me on. I love you for it. It's always fun to come on here and chat D&D. I enjoy it every time. I'm looking forward to any future collabs that may be coming up in the near future. We'll have to see. As for me, I'm going to be doing my thing over on my Twitch. You guys can check it out. The link's right there in the chat. We're doing D&D every Monday. I am off this coming Monday. We're taking some time. I got some family stuff I got to deal with, but we'll be back the following Monday after I've had some time to just, get everything together and, get everything set up and whatnot. Other than that, I have a few plans for some evil one-shots where we're going to see some henchmen doing their thing, same as last campaign, but that's probably a couple months out at best. But keep an ear out. I already have a couple people right there that I would like to have show up sometime on the stream. I think that would be fun. We've talked about it enough. It's time to pull the trigger, so I'm going to do it. We need Fade in there, too. And, of course, Tom, as well.
Listen.
Everybody. I'm just going to steal all of you for a stream. It's going to happen.
Fate would be a fantastic evil character. I'm telling you.
Oh, I have no doubt. He's got the vibe.
Man.
He's the sweetest, which means he will be evil as needed.
Yes. No, you have no idea.
I would love
no idea.
We'll have to plan that in the near future. But thank you for having me. I love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Meet up
We appreciate
so you can do your outro, and then we can, chill and chat after the stream. I'll see you guys. Thank you again for watching, everybody. I appreciate you coming.
Rusty.
Go support him. Order helps.
Yes. Well, I think it did stabilize, but let's go ahead and do the quick wrap. I think we had gotten really we'd sucked a lot of the juice out of Rusty
out of the bandwidth.
He's an amazing DM, guys, and I'm glad that he exists here on Twitch, and you will be too if you go watch him. All right. You want to do the outro there, Druid, and then we'll do the together one?
So, no Bandwidth and Banter this Friday, but we'll see you Saturday. Next Friday, we have the return of Ryan. Ryan G. Wiz is back next Friday. Bandwidth and Banter. I believe it's at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let me just double check.
I think he's...
Yes, 6 p.m.
Yes.
6 p.m. Central Standard Time is a Ryan return episode for Bandwidth and Banter next Friday. So we will definitely see all of you there. Be there, be square. Other than that, thank you for coming to the show. Please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate and review the episode. We are Bandwidth and Banter. Thank you, and good night.